The heck? How's that working already?
What?
I think we're broadcasting. I didn't have to put anything in. How strange is that? Want to check and make sure?
Did you click to broadcast or did it just go?
I think it just went. It was like, it's time.
Yes.
We're good. We're on there?
Yeah, good thing we're ready, right?
Good gravy. So it's on YouTube, Facebook,
and Twitter.
And Twitter, all those places. Huh. I'll be darned.
All right.
Well, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's get some people on here and let's ask how the sound is.
I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Chandler Smith of Radio Ronin for showing us the way to find some better mics.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chandler.
Finally had a little space in our budget and we upgraded from our $5 mics. And
yeah.
So far, it sounds pretty good.
Sounds a lot better. And I don't hear me deep breathing every time I'm trying to keep a sentence going. That drove me nuts.
Yeah. Or we touch the mic and it
explodes. Yeah. So thank you, Radio Ronin, Chandler, for all your help to guide us into getting these. It has made a huge improvement already. I didn't know I even sounded like this, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
do I sound like this all the time?
Sexy.
How about that? We'll edit that part out. Hey, welcome to One-on-One Live with Coach Blu. It's good to have you guys all here. For you who are participating through Facebook or YouTube, if you have a question for us as we go throughout today, please don't hesitate to jot it down. If you want to jump on with us. In fact, I didn't have time to put the Zoom account linked on there. So you want to do that for them so they can jump on with us?
Let's see if I can do it. And I'm still trying to log in. Sorry.
Awesome. Well, we'll work out some of the
we didn't know we would go live so quick. So
yeah, I'm not used to it doing that. It jumped ahead, which I guess it's like, hey, get started. Nonetheless, if you want to jump on the Zoom, we'll get the links posted up there if you want to come on live. Thank you for submitting your questions. We've got several of them already that I think are going to be super helpful. I posted a Facebook Live a little earlier today, spoke a little bit about sharing your recovery story, like the things that worked for you, the stuff that kind of got you into the mindset of maintaining sobriety, maintaining your recovery. And I would love to hear more of those. I would love to jump on there. If you want to submit that through Facebook Live comment section or jump on with us. Blu Robinson here, licensed mental health therapist, substance use disorder counselor, 20 years in the field. Over there, across the way, our athletic director, Marissa Robinson.
Hello.
CTRS, Certified Therapeutic Recreational Specialist. Yes, I got it right this time.
Yeah.
Look at that. Kind of the brains behind our program here. Before we get too far deep into this, I also want to give a special shout out and thanks to all of our Patreon subscribers. You guys have made it possible for us to do some things with this platform, with this program. And I thank you for joining up, for everything that you're doing for Team Addict to Athlete. I hope that you've enjoyed the first and only original Addict to Athlete shirt that we sent out to you guys, the hoodies, the sweaters, all that kind of stuff. We have more people that are qualifying now. And I think you've made contact to get some of that stuff.
Some of those sizes, because I'm putting in our next order so I can get some more out.
Yeah. That will only be the very first year of our Patreon family. So it'll be an exclusive one. And if history repeats itself, for some reason, our original jerseys from 10 years ago, which we'll get into in a minute, those have become the hot item. We didn't realize it, but what are they called? NFTs, right? Is that what it's called?
Well, yes, that's the digital item, yes, that are going to be going.
You're going to hear a lot more about those in the digital world, but nonetheless, these are the originals. So who knows? Maybe these Patreon subscriber T-shirts are going to have that same effect.
Yeah.
So I want to give
something in a few years.
They have to be, right?
Yeah.
I want to give a special shout out and thanks to everybody who's been doing that. Now, the cool thing about Patreon is if you jump on there and you find a platform that works for you, for $2 a month, you can get all of our bonus episodes. That qualifies you to get all of the bonus content that we have. But then there's a tier system, and the higher you go in the tier, the more luxurious the perks and features.
Yes.
Anything from from getting T-shirts and some merchandise, all the way up to some cool bonus features and some things that'll be only and uniquely given to the Patreon subscribers. So yeah, let's
get on and become a Patreon.
How do they do that, Marissa?
They go to patreon.com/addict athlete.
Absolutely. But I want to give a special shout out to our super fans. They include Jerem Thurston, Holly Davies. They're going to be having another little one.
Yeah, they're having a little boy
Holly.
in, I think, August.
So cool.
I just found out.
Yeah, congratulations, Holly and the Davis family. Scott Foster, Coach Chris Williams, Brett Frew, Chelsea Olson, Antonio Dominic, and of course, the Warrior Within podcast and personal development by Sensei KP. Go listen to KP's podcast. There's he's got some decent stuff on there that'll help motivate you, maybe get some deeper understanding about life, about just making the best of what we've got. I love it. It's a great podcast. Our rookies, Josh Hansen, who, again, can't thank enough. Josh is part of Radio Ronin. He does all their logos and stuff. He's a little
great
sidekick.
Designer and help for us.
He's helped Team Addict Athlete a lot. Kenny Roseman. Woo! Kenny, there's your Ric Flair from the Agents of Recovery podcast. Earl Dyer and Joe Jackson. Joe, I'm going to be reaching out to you soon. I want to get you on this podcast.
Yeah.
I see Joe everywhere. I see Joe posting on Uena Basin, everything. I'm like, Joe he's the global connector.
Yeah, that's right. From England. He gets a lot of posts while we're sleeping, and we wake up and post back to him, and then he answers when we're back asleep again.
Absolutely. So Joe, watch your email, brother. I'm going to get in touch with you. Our pro level subscribers are Selena Armitage and Gary Thurston. Thank you both so much. Our pro levels. And of course, our championship level. This is the highest tier that you can achieve in the Patreon Addict Athlete support. And that is going out to Shad and Freya Robinson and the Robinson family. Thank you guys so much. And Ron and Dee Loesch.
Yes.
Thank you all so much. A championship level subscriber, I'll be honest with you, that's donating quite a bit.
And I'm grateful.
And I'm thankful for that. It's helping us do some amazing things. And as Marissa and I are creating this online program, the help that we get from the Patreon is going to help people all over the country and hopefully world. So you guys are all contributing to someone else's sobriety. So thank you so much. Patreon.com/addict athlete. Go check it out.
Hope we give enough to you guys and you're grateful for it. I re-listened to our bonus episode just today, Stages of Love, for all of our patrons.
You thought we made a mistake. We needed to make sure, because I'm like, oh no.
We did make a mistake, but I couldn't remember if you had edited it out. So I hope if any of you patrons ever hear an episode that we post and we're yelling at each other and you can tell that was probably supposed to be edited, please text us so we can
absolutely
change it. But it was, we had done that. A lot of this COVID brain, it's weird things I forget, like fully and completely. I can't even remember.
That means I've had COVID brain for like 30 years now then.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
But it seems, at least for me, I'll forget words. So if I'm ever stumbling right now, it's all because of COVID.
Not because you're getting older. It's COVID brain.
And not because I had 4 kids.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Well, nonetheless, thank you. Well, let's jump into it. We've got lots to talk about today. Were you able to post that yet?
Yes. I
okay,
got it.
Fantastic. Thank you. You are a rock star. I don't know how you multitask as well as you do.
It's hard sometimes, but.
Well, I've got several questions here. And this one came through right after we ended last week, Marissa. Mm-hmm. And I almost feel bad because I'm like, shoot, we should have answered this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. So I'm not going to put the name of the facility, but we'll go through here. It says, hey, Coach Blu, I'm 10 months sober and have an opportunity to get a job at a treatment center. And I said treatment center, not at the one. Mm-hmm. But I have a friend that I used to use with that also works there, and I'm not sure they're as clean as they're reporting. Mm-hmm. What do you recommend for the length of time to be working in the recovery field? And should I take this if we have a history?
So they would be working together.
They'd be working together. Maybe this person knows a little something about someone that's
in their sobriety.
Yeah, in their sobriety. Good rule of thumb. So back in the day when I would be, what was that, 2002, 2001? When did I go to the School of Alcohol and Drug
2001.
Abuse? 2001. They wouldn't even let you apply to become a substance use disorder counselor unless you had at least 2 years under your belt. Mm-hmm. And most of the facilities that I've worked at, and I'm talking about the ones that I feel are top notch, they had a limit too, between 1.5 to 2 years before you should apply. And that wasn't to restrict you from working with those people, but it was to give you enough time under your belt to make sure that as you work with people that are, going through similar things that you had previously, that you won't be pulled into that direction for relapse, that you'll have a little bit understanding about, the triggers, warning signs, all that stuff. Because
and it's not only having triggers early, even if you're, a few months, whatever, but it is a trying and emotionally draining job. It's difficult.
It is.
And when you're newly in recovery, you're trying to find new coping skills to deal with emotion and stress. And it is a very high stress job. So having a couple years gives you a lot more strength to be able to handle those emotional situations and the stress of it all, and also be able to give and help others.
Yeah. And I think that, it's a great thing. A lot of folks that get into recovery feel and kind of have this purpose inside them that they want to then help. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, it's not for everyone. It takes a lot of grit because there's so much that could go wrong. I know that I've seen in the past, staff that have, ended up using with clients and, having relationships that were unhealthy, which are, very unethical and against the rules. So you've got to make sure that you are at a spot where you can hold boundaries, that there's this thing called transference, where a client will come in and maybe remind you of someone, that, you used to use with or a family member or something, and you treat them differently. It's a strange world. But I think if you go to a program, and this is the one thing I've noticed with many programs, is that they don't train their staff as well as they should. And usually it's kind of a sink or swim job training. And I don't think that's always the best.
Yeah. And a lot of those jobs coming in, early in recovery, you're coming in as a psych tech or, a direct care staff, and you are with the clients. You are boots on the ground, hardest working individuals in the treatment center.
If you're a line staff, for sure, they call them line staff. We just call them mentors because I think that sounds better. But if you're one of those, you will have and be spending more time with those clients than the clinical staff will. So what does that tell you? That you're going to have conversations about certain things, and that you're going to hear things, and you're going to know things, and they're going to have their real face on with you because, like it or not, a lot of them still try to
you're a peer
better,
and you're a peer to them. So they see you as a friend, and that sometimes brings in, they're going to open up to you emotionally about a lot of things that are really difficult, as well as try to be a friend when you're trying to maybe set boundaries or enforce rules of the treatment center and the facility. So it becomes difficult, let alone the issue in this question in being able to have that be a coworker, or if you look into doing that as a job, you're going to have to really question, okay, if I do find out conclusively that they are using, will I be able to go to the administration and let them know?
Yeah.
Because you're going to need to ask those questions before you're in the situation, because it's difficult.
And I would say, look to your administration and find out what backgrounds they have. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of them. Remember, at the end of the day, all programs, are businesses. Mm-hmm. And so part of that means that although lots of them out there want to do it because it's good for the heart, they also have to do it because it's good for the bank account, which kind of sucks, but it's a necessary evil, right? I mean, it really is. Yeah. Because everybody, when you and I owned our own treatment center, we didn't realize how much goes out to things that are just, like necessity, but you're like, oh my gosh, how can we, tighten all this stuff up? But But part of that means like the people who own it, what are their motives? What are their interests? Making sure you're working for a good one, because you will be treated and respected at a higher level to someone who understands versus someone who's just doing it for a business.
Yeah.
It's an emotional job. You got to be prepared for that. Just because of the nature of the work, there will be times when you will find out that your clients that you once worked with pass away. And so how do you deal with the emotional turbulence of some of those things?
Yeah. When you put in tons of effort with a client and they're just like, they can't, they're trying to do better, but they just give in and they AWOL or they leave, and that's not what they want for themselves, but they just don't have the strength right now. Like, that's painful when you put in so much effort and care to somebody and then they take off and just throw it away.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
I would say that one of the biggest things too is to avoid burnout, making sure that you're taking care of yourself and making sure that this is one thing that I didn't like about owning my own facility, is that you could never leave the job. It was always on your shoulders. And that to me, I think for clinicians and counselors and staff, you've got to be able to leave it there, and, there's a few things that you may not be prepared for that you got to be aware of. If you participate in local community meetings, you'll be a little bit more knowledgeable on the happenings, so to speak. And so you might hear things or see things in a meeting that you got to keep confidential, because the 12 steps, they want anonymity, which means if you see a former client or something at a meeting, you can't go and tell everybody else, hey, I saw so-and-so at the meeting. So there's a lot of learning curve, but it's worth it. For you specifically, this is going to be a hard choice for you, because you know information about a potential coworker. And I don't want that to mess up your relationship, but also to be cautious about what
you want to do what's best for the other clients, and having a staff that's actively using or slipping is not safe for the client.
There was one time, do you remember, Marissa, years ago when a very dear friend of mine, we were both substance use disorder counselors. In fact, he taught me how to be one, and I caught him using. And, what do you say to a coworker who's become a friend?
Well, and not only that, he was a mentor to you. It wasn't just a friend, but he was somebody that you looked up to, that kind of trained you on your first job as a substance abuse counselor. And
that was a really hard thing to do, but it was like, how can we sit here and tell all these kids we're working with to stay clean and to kind of put in the work when you yourself aren't? And so there's so many avenues to it. But you know what? I love the industry of working with people to overcome addiction. It is,
when you can help somebody, like it's great, and to see them change their lives. There's nothing better. Yeah.
There's a lot of negativity out there with some of this stuff. There's a lot of positive things too. And I've met some of the most kind-hearted people in this field. Yeah. And I've met some not so great ones, but that's going to be any job, whether it's working in an office building on the 105th floor or working, as a janitor at some school. You'll have that everywhere.
Working at a bakery.
So I'm going to say that's a personal choice for you. I'd be very cautious on how you approach it. But, for length of time, I always recommend at least 1.5 to 2 years. But if you go in and you feel like you're moving and grooving, do it, because I've also seen people that have had less time that have done well. So, I would be careful with it, though. One thing I've seen that I would not ever recommend is that you working at a place that you yourself receive treatment. I know that happens quite a bit. I wouldn't do that, because there's a little bit of a niche that happens when that goes down, and it can get kind of, I'm not gonna say incestuous, but it can get kind of
it just messes sometimes with that you become a client. They're telling what to do to a coworker and equal level.
Yeah. So it's a good question. It's a good question, because we're lucky in Utah. We have a lot of facilities around here. We got some really good ones that I know I would, trust with my own friends to go to if needs be. And so, if it's not something that you enjoy, the best time to find a job is when you have a job. So
absolutely.
And I would say this too. Be cautious, because you might get into it and find a knack for it. And then, of course, you'll want to pursue maybe some more education to start doing things at a deeper level. That's kind of where we started,
It happens a lot.
Yeah. So to a certain degree, it can be very motivating, but just make sure that you are at a spot where you can deal with high emotion and high level. Yeah. So good question.
Very good one. Thank you.
All right. Got another one.
Okay.
Okay. Coach Blu. Let's see. I've been sober for over a year, and I still have feelings of worry and high anxiety, sometimes over the smallest issues. What do you recommend or think that I might be doing wrong? What am I missing? I feel like sometimes needing something to cope with the anxiety outweighs my desire to stay clean.
So you said a year?
It says over a year.
Over a year. Okay.
So this is one of those things that happens. Let's start off by talking about something that we should be more learned about, and that is the issue of pause, right?
Yes.
Marissa, what's pause?
So pause is post-acute withdrawal syndrome.
What is it?
So it is, they say that the substance is out of your body in about 28 days, any substance. So that's why insurance usually only covers treatment for 28 days because, the substance is in your body. However, there's things that linger and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And post-acute withdrawal syndrome can last up to 2 years and even more than that. And some of it's irritability, it's anxiety, depression, lack of sleep, mood swings, high mood swings. I'm trying to think of all the others. There's a lot. You can Google it. We have a blog post about it. And so it's difficult. A lot of people think, I've come so far, they're doing really well. And then all of a sudden they have this setback, or sometimes even people just having like weird sweats when they haven't for a month or so, or 2 months. It's just like, there's just things that really, as your brain recalculates itself, it takes time. So my first piece of advice is be patient with yourself.
Oh yeah.
Be patient. Recognize that this is normal. This is natural. My second piece every time is taking magnesium. A magnesium supplement is really phenomenal. I think the one I take is it magnesium citrate? It's really good for sleep and anxiety. It's just kind of a calming. It's not weird inducing,
right. Doesn't do anything. There's no euphoria or anything.
No. And it's a natural thing. Our bodies, regulate, but it's also what we find in foods. But if you're really struggling with sleep or anxiety, it can really help. A lot of people are really low in their magnesium. And often if you're really struggling with those things, like 400 milligrams a day, you want to start out slow and slowly build up. But 400 milligrams a day is probably a good, healthy dose if you're really struggling.
So this is an interesting thing too, because as we were talking to that last, question about, am I ready for this? Make sure that you are ready for this, because you never know when pause is going to come back up. Yeah. Anywhere from 2 years to sometimes, reported as long as 4. And so you got to be really in tune with yourself. But some of the symptoms that you might want to be aware of, all the listeners out there, if you've ever had addiction issues in the past and you're early in recovery, if you start out of nowhere having insomnia or sleep disturbances, irritability, aggression, hostility, anxiety, panic attacks, sometimes depression that's maybe uncommon, impaired concentration, if you're now having a hard time concentrating, mood swings, fatigue, poor memory, poor impulse control. If you've had some time and all of a sudden you start like reacting instead of acting, you're like, whoa, what's this? Maybe a desire to want to relapse, or maybe even increase cravings for your drug of choice. And sometimes we don't even realize this, but sometimes apathy, where you just feel like vegging out. So those are just a few of the symptoms that you might feel after having a prolonged period of sobriety, which is kind of a bummer because it puts us in this mindset of like, what's wrong with me? I should be happy. I should be okay.
It's really not working. I've put in all this work. Why do I feel so bad? But you did a lot of damage too. And you have to be able to understand that, it took a while usually for people to get really bad into their addiction. It's going to take a while for your body to be able to heal from it.
Your brain, your brain chemicals begin to try to re-regulate themselves after having been kind of immersed in whatever chemical. Pause can kind of like fluctuate and increase and decrease. And really it's your body's attempt to try to establish some equilibrium, some balance. And so it's kind of a thing that tells you to a certain degree, kind of weird, that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
But I would first start with that. I would start saying, is this something unusual? Is this something, that's, if it's worry as it describes here in your question, if the worry is kind of out of nowhere and over the smallest things, it could be that you're re-experiencing that. And pause situations like that can last anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks, but they will subside and they will go away. Mm-hmm. But it's that period of time in between. I don't think we do enough work to teach people about this.
No, I think a lot of people believe that, within a month, 2 months, they're going to be great. Mm-hmm. But and mostly when it comes and goes like that you feel really good. And then it's really hard. Like, okay, is it situational that something's coming in? Do I need to see a doctor about this? Is this long-term or is it something that will pass? And you just need to follow yourself. Maybe you do need to see a doctor. That's okay.
Well, check this out. So I don't know what substance you're using, but if it's THC, marijuana, some common pause side effects are going to be insomnia, anxiety, irritability, headaches, and some stomach pains, maybe some cramping, which is kind of interesting, mm-hmm. right? Opiates, some of those feelings are going to be depression, anxiety, intense cravings, muscle tension, poor impulse control.
Restless leg.
Absolutely. The scary one, right? Methamphetamine. If it's that you're coming down from, you're going to have poor impulse control. Of course, some sleeping impairment, maybe some insomnia and some irritability. Those things can come up weeks, months after you've stopped using.
Even
years after you've stopped
2 years
using.
Sometimes.
So, I don't think enough. I was talking to a client today that I was talking to who knows everything about himself. It's been great. He's been kind of, to a certain degree, studying himself over the last several years. And he's gotten to the point where he's like, I know that my depression and my anxieties and stuff, I know that that's a symptom of something else. And it was cool talking to him because we talked about the magnesium and stuff. Mm-hmm. He's like, you know what? I remember my doctor talking about that. I'm going to try that. But he knew himself so well that he knew that when he was out of sorts, it was something related to something else. It wasn't just, I need to go out and drink again. Yeah. And I really appreciated that. Not a lot of us take a lot of time to drill down and focus on us.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're so interested in making the changes, riding that horse that we got on, saying that we're better, that when we start having these symptoms, we're almost afraid to talk about them.
Yeah.
And that could be pretty damaging, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah. I think pause brings on more relapse than people ever are aware. Blame it. It's easy to blame on other things, but that is one, if it's left untreated, can really be a detriment to sobriety.
Yeah, we should probably do a deep dive drill down on this too. And maybe, I know we have a YouTube video on it as well. But yeah, I would first and foremost check that out. If your anxiety and your worries becoming prolonged, I would say let's get you back in to see some counseling and get you to do some therapy, find out what the cause of it is. Yeah. A lot of times too, remember post-traumatic stress, even though you might have dealt with a lot of it in treatment or with your therapist or just kind of on your own, it has a funny way of reemerging if there's some untied, stuff, some unfinished business. And so it's okay to ask for help. One thing I really enjoy doing as a private therapist now is that I don't have to work with the mass group. I get to work with the people that are like, okay, I'm done with this, but now I just feel like I need to get over this mountain. Mm-hmm. And I love that because they come ready to work and they are like on that path, and it's a cool thing. So don't feel like, even if you've had treatment in the past, I don't know if you have, don't think that you have to start that journey over again. You can do a lot of this stuff, privately or
counseling.
Or even with a support group. So
I also think you can address a lot of the pause symptoms with your diet. Healthy diet, increase your water, as well as exercise. And again, I think we talked about it last week. That magic pill doesn't exist for a lot of things, diet. And it really comes down to the things that we've heard and we know forever. Diet and exercise are huge.
They're big.
But they're the hard ones. So people would rather take something easy. And sometimes it doesn't always work that way. So
yeah, it's a good question. So check that out. If you need help, let's get you pointed in the right direction. If anything we've said here kind of lands or you need more questions, just feel free to respond back to the question that you asked and we'll get you some help. Marissa, this question's interesting.
Okay.
Coach Blu, now that COVID seems to be having an end date and that things might start getting back to normal, I'm very worried and concerned about getting back out there. The biggest worry is that I've been isolating so long that I'm not sure how to help. Let me see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to help myself or what I should do in order to get things back as they once were. That's pretty wild.
You have to start small, start little.
It's
like, don't expect that you're going to be as you were instantly, let alone we've all changed. All of us have experienced different things, done different things, and maybe we're different people. And so maybe we're going to do things different, and that's okay.
As we're recording this, it's coming to be almost a full year of this kind of stuff. And the interesting thing was when last year at this time, our kids were now starting to engage in online school, right? And it was wild because when they thought, 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks turned into a month, and then for the rest of the school year, the hardest part was getting them ready to go back in the fall. And it was a little bit rough for a few of the kids. Savannah, who, the minor league podcast host, she was ready to rock. But the other ones were kind of like, they were feeling like, nah, it's overwhelming. I want to just do this. I think that it's, I think it could be super overwhelming when it comes to trying to reestablish yourself into that pattern. So, if you're used to that, get out there, start slow. Like Marissa said, engage in it to a point where you feel there's some progression, but not an immersion, right? Yeah. I mean,
and everything's different. So don't overwhelm yourself by thinking you need to just start doing everything the same way, and just take it easy with what feels comfortable.
Absolutely. So the other thing too, though, is if you've been away from like using friends and all that kind of scene, that could be hard too. I mean, going back to barbecues in the summer and gatherings and things, to a certain degree, some of that isolation might have helped.
Yeah.
But to another degree, the isolation might have hurt.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a ripple effect through all of this that we're not even aware of yet. And, the side effects too are going to be probably felt for a long time. So I would say start small. Sometimes you get thinking, have I developed this phobia? Have I developed, what do they call the phobia where you're stuck in the house? I can't remember. I know the arachnophobia is afraid of spiders.
Agoraphobia? That's afraid of public.
Yeah.
Big crowds.
That's interesting because, I've always kind of been the guy that's like, if we need something, I'll run to the store. I don't like doing that anymore.
No, I'm we can order it from Amazon. Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to change the whole shape of the way that we are doing this. And again, this social isolation stuff is going to have, problems and effects from years to come. So kind of interesting. So start slow. I would start now. Our Addict to Athlete meetings have started again. We've gotten the go ahead to have bigger groups now.
Yes.
So let's have you do that too.
Yeah, check our website. It's pretty updated on the active meetings. We meet every Tuesday in Utah County and Orem. We go live on Facebook, but we also have 2 groups that do Zoom meetings that you're welcome to join every week.
Yeah.
And from anywhere, and we're, I think, getting really close to opening our Salt Lake chapter up here soon again.
Yeah, well, and participating in like the in the No Man Left Behind, the No One Left Behind race coming up, getting involved with Addict to Athlete. We're turning 10 years old this year. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. Here's a group that I didn't even think people would show up to, and now we're all over the state and beyond. And so, I think it's kind of a cool thing. And so we're going to be doing some neat things this year to celebrate the team. So come out. There's no more accepting people that I've ever met than those on Team Addict to Athlete and some of the other groups that are around. So
yeah,
it's good stuff. All right. You want another one?
Do you have one, or were we going to talk about people in recovery and where we're at and how people are?
Yeah, if we've got anyone that wants to share that,
I have somebody on Zoom now, Rowena. So let me move.
Very cool.
Her over.
That's kind of where we wanted to kind of take this podcast today too, is talking about the things that you've done that's worked, the things that you've held on to, the stuff that you've learned on the way for those who are kind of next in line, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of those first couple of months, years in recovery.
More what you're doing right.
It's almost like what would you like to have known? You know?
Yeah. What would you tell yourself at the beginning of recovery?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Ro, how things going in your world?
It's going good. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. It's good to hear from you.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm doing this right.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. There you go.
If you want to turn on
there you go.
Video, you can.
Live and direct. No worries. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, huh? I forgot.
Me too.
Somebody should pinch you.
There you go. I'm sure your boys.
I know. He's got Shay's right here.
Yeah, Shay will get you.
He'll pinch you.
Absolutely. Well, what do you got for these new folks?
Hey, Shay.
Yeah, Shay, it's good to see you, brother. Man, he's getting tall. Holy cow. Look at him muscles. That's good, brother. It's good to see you, man. I miss you guys.
I miss you too.
He walked off. He said me too.
I heard him. That's cool. Thank you.
So I have a question. It's kind of like what you were actually just going to bring up right now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like things to do, as far as being in recovery, but also how to, so lately I've been like from our last conversation trying to, kind of be a bit more close with my family, being that support and whatnot. And, everything's been going good-ish. My brothers finally seen each other after 14 years and, just trying to be closer as a family and whatnot. And I talk to my dads, both of them, like almost every day. They check on me. And that's without me reaching out first, which is really awesome. So it's been awesome. With my brothers and with my mom, I mean, granted, they're in different situations than I have somewhat been in. My brother, the older one, he's still kind of getting used to being free, I guess you can say.
Just getting out of jail.
Yeah. After 9 years of being locked up.
Wow.
Very institutionalized.
Yeah, really. That's a hard adjustment.
Yeah.
It has been. And it's actually, it hasn't been a burden on us, I'm going to say, but we're somebody that's familiar, you know, to him.
You're the constant. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys make him feel safe because you are something from his before life that is safe.
Yeah. And he just didn't realize how much I've grown, I guess you can say.
Oh yeah.
And because the last time he saw me, I mean, I was still very premature in my sobriety and trying, you know, and still not very, very good place as we were. Yeah. And my mom isn't so much as sober as I guess I thought we thought she was.
Yeah.
And she's still kind of homeless, right?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's taking a little bit of a toll on him, you know. And I kind of started feeling like crap. I can kind of feel this familiar. It's going back again, you know, and I don't want him to get dragged into her negativity. But then I had to realize I'm not responsible for their decisions.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to not writing or anything like that, just like walking a bit more and honestly, probably not exercising or doing the things that would normally help me. So I kind of got more lost in work. I mean, it kind of sounds like a broken record, but putting in more hours at work to try to kind of justify for not having to be here when he wants to come or answering my mom's call when she tries to call me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I guess I kind of got into the feeling of I'm so willing to help so many other people that I don't even know, strangers that I've never met. I'm willing to help beyond what I'm always willing to help someone that I've never met, that I don't know in any aspect that I possibly can. If I can't help, I'll let them help, but I'll help in which way that I can. But when it comes to my family, it's a different situation. But then I try to think, you know what? I complained so many years about me being alone, that my family wasn't there. How come you guys weren't there when I needed you? That I kind of started asking myself, and I even asked my boys, maybe this is the time where it's me that needs to be there, that they're seeing, you know what, she's changing. And they didn't realize how active my boys are in their extra activities and what they do. And they were kind of like taken back, like, whoa, you know, he's the president of a forum, or these guys do sports, or we didn't realize that they do this. You know, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of their thing. That's what we do, you know.
That's normal stuff.
Normal.
Yeah, that's normal things.
Kids development.
Yeah, and they just, it took them by surprise, and they really didn't expect that. But that was me thinking, why do I feel so guilty of trying to help them? Or I get to my wit's end where I'm like, never mind, you know what, if you don't want the help, you're not going to change. I can't be there for you. But then I'm like, you know what, I needed that help. I needed that. Maybe it's me just to show them, okay, I am here for you. I'm not going to enable you. I am here for you as much as I can. So I'm still taking her meals.
That's hard.
I'm still having him come over and talk to the kids. He messages me when he's like freaking out, like at 2 a.m, like he hears something or he can't sleep. And just the institutional, is that a word?
Institutionalized. Yeah.
Yeah. He thinks like everyone is out to get him, and he would rather like cash his check at a Czech City than go into a bank or a Smith, because there's so many people that he starts freaking out. And then he like tries to give into temptation, and then he starts asking me, do you remember this person? Do you remember that person? And he came over, and he brought, in his eyes, he's helping someone else. But I'm like, no, if you go looking for those people or where we used to hang out, it's gonna lead you into other things. And he brought back this whole crew that I used to hang out with. Now they know where I live. And I'm like, please
man.
don't.
You know what? You bring up such a good point. I don't think we do enough discussion on that kind of topic either, like life after.
Well, I'm wondering, I know that they have grant money. Do they have programs to help these guys?
Like reacclimate?
Yeah. And I know that they have like some transitional housing, but like they need to really have some counseling and groups and maybe some peer to peer. Like I think of Coach James Johnson was in for 7 years. Yeah. And his first 2 years he still struggles here and there. And I think he just hit 2 years out, but it's hard. And when you come from the prison life like that, you are on edge all the time. There's a lot of scenarios and situations in there where you're just protection mode. So to come out and feel like you can just be safe and not have to watch your back all the time is very weird.
But I can also see her point too, of like him now seeing like these major changes, but having no clue on how she got there. Right.
Yeah.
Like he's now
jumped through the beginning of your sobriety to here, like 9 years. That's huge.
Bro, I've known you for about that long. You've come a long way in 9 years. And so that's, so I mean, I could just see you trying to help lead and guide him. But then Marissa, this is something that should have happened a long time ago, because now he's going to be in that mindset too of, do I trust these people? And, I think you've definitely identified a hole in the system, Ro. I mean, how are you teaching him? How are you showing him? Because I'm sure he's like wanting to learn, but it's all the same breath. He's just doing what instinctively he knows.
And that's the thing is I've reached out to APNP. I've reached out to the parole, the parole board as far as like rehab, what do you call it? Rehabilitation services.
Yeah, transitional services.
A certain amount, but then they're only, the transitional services, but then they're only allotted a certain time to be able to do it where, okay, you have your groups on these days, but then you're expected to check in over here without breaking parole. But then this is the only allotted time that you're given. And if these guys don't approve this, then you're written up for this. And I'm like, okay, this is where I'm trying to help. And this is where I guess I can kind of just rectify what you said as far as 9 years. It's been 14 years since he's seen me. He was institutionalized for 9 years. But that's where 14 years ago, I was using. I'm to a totally different place in my life now. And and not to be religious or bring spirituality, all sorts of things into it.
Please do.
But I told him, without me leaning on my higher power, I'm not in that chapel every Sunday. It doesn't make me a bad person, but at the same time, I have my faith. I know where my heart is. This is what I'm doing. This is what is work. I'm here for you as much as I can, but I can't put in the work for you, but also trying to be sensitive enough to him to let him know if I can change, but my situation, I guess, compared to my family, like my brother, my sister, my mom, I'm a lot different than from what their situation they were in, because they've had each other. I've been on my own, even as a toddler, because I was passed all over the place versus having that connection, you know? So still trying to be that support system to him. But I'm like, do I have that line there to like, I don't know how to deal with that. I mean, granted, like I've helped myself. I wasn't locked up for 9 years, but I know how it feels. But I'm a totally different person. You know what I mean? So I don't know how to be that support system. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm not going to break my sobriety as far as, you know, just be clean and not looking for that baggie, not looking for, because I know I'm going to die. I'm going to die if I do, you know? But then for these people to come back into my life, not as in these people, as in my family, but him thinking, oh, you know what? I'm helping this person, but I know I was in that situation, me thinking I'm helping someone. I realized. And I don't want that for him, but I want him to know I'm here for you as much as I can, but I don't know how to help him if he thinks everybody is out to get him. But at the same time, me trying to reach out to the system, letting them know what I'm trying to do, what I am willing to do. But then there's that roadblock.
You know what's intense about this is we have a podcast with Coach James Johnson. I'll have Marissa find it and tag you in it.
In fact, it's called Turn Your Mess into a Message.
Turn Your Mess into a Message. Yeah.
But I'll send it to you.
I'll have her do this for you, Rose, so that you can hear it firsthand, because Coach James Johnson, he may be even willing to come and chat with him too about getting things reorganized. We have several athletes on this team that have gone through that very thing. I think of Jeff Smith, Gina. You know, they've all had these experiences where all of a sudden one day life took a very different turn. They paid their dues, they did that, but then they had to come out, and that freedom that you have all of a sudden, right? It's a scary thing. Freedom, captivity, versus freedom, right? Captivity versus security. There's all these concepts of like, we want job security, we want financial security, but really, if you think about maximum security, that's jail. And then all of a sudden one day you have this freedom. It's hard. And I would say approach it almost like you would a toddler, you know. I would start with safe things. I would say, you know, just because I've seen it work so well, and just because the team that we have is such that they are willing, able, and you know, I guess, you know, passionate about recovery, bring him to Team Addict to Athlete.
This reminds me that you said Gina. I remember
the first time we met her?
Well, I remember hearing about Gina because her sister Judy was coming to Addict to Athlete, very strong in the group. And she kept trying to bring, she said, my sister's getting out of prison. She was so excited and wanted to bring her, and she never would show up with her. And she's like, she doesn't want to. Finally, she sat down with her, and Gina's like, I'm done with that life. She was so afraid that she just stayed inside for a long time, because she's like, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to run into bad people, you know. And sadly, there's a lot of 12 steps. You think you're going to go there and find a supportive group, but she was so afraid she was going to find those old contacts and get into that old crowd again. And she's like, I don't want to do that. And it took a long time for Judy to talk her into it. In fact, I think she got her to come to that race.
Chase the Crook.
Or no, was it the one that she did for Diego? I can't remember.
No, it was Chase the Crook out of town.
That she's like,
which is funny. Yeah.
But she wanted to get her out, and it was phenomenal for her. But she was so afraid to even leave the house for a long time.
And I can see her problem too. I mean, again, he's coming out and he's seeing all that she has and thinking, you know, well, you did this pretty easily. Can I do it?
And it looks easy when it's, you know, what you're looking at is years, 14 years.
Yeah, we got to understand that principle, because I remember one time there was I can't remember who it was at one of the programs you and I worked at. And he says, Blue, I want to be where you are. And I'm like, dude, do you have any idea how long and hard it was for me to get to where I am?
What it took to get here.
You're looking at me 20 years, 20 years clean, all this stuff. I'm like, man, there were some major hoops I had to jump through, and some pride I needed to swallow. And
a lot of people, they compare themselves to where people are at now, not recognizing that you may be 10 steps behind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Don't think you need to be those 10 steps ahead. Be patient with yourself. You can look at that person as maybe a goal or something you want to get to, but don't compare yourself. That's just going to make you feel bad.
Absolutely.
And don't really think that you can do that same thing overnight.
Yeah. And it may be worth it too, to reach out to Coach Johnson and have him contact Ro, and maybe even get him on again soon, because, she brings up a great point, and we get quite a few people that are incarcerated that come out that have been a part of Addict to Athlete, either in Conquest and or heard of it once they've gotten out. And I think that there's a certain level of understanding that our team brings, because the nature of what we do is always leaning towards the positive. If you come to an Addict to Athlete meeting, you're not hearing about people just talking about substance use and, the devastation that it created. We talk about the positive aspects of that change that you made and how to capitalize on it and how to turn that mess into a message. And so the whole premise and concept of our meetings are different.
Yeah. Our environment and culture at Addict to Athlete is a stark contrast to 12-step.
Absolutely.
And not that they're bad. There's some great ones out there. So it's just different. So try something different.
Ro, we dropped you, but I would say let's get him in touch with us. Let's get him onto the team. Let's get him to kind of maybe get a feel for it. And I would start by having him listen to Coach James' podcast. Marissa will email it to you.
It really is so important to start connecting with people that he admires and people that he wants to be where they're at. That's the best way to get to that place.
She's talking and it breaks my heart though, because as he's looking at Shay and her kids and stuff, and he's like, wow, I can't believe they're doing all this stuff. I can't believe they're turning into be, to be young men,
Well, and all of her kids do sports and they do football and all these things that they all missed out on.
It breaks
her
my
and
heart.
Her family as kids.
Yeah. And Ro's creating that for them.
Yeah.
She's giving them that platform that without it,
that she missed,
they would probably have followed the same path. And so to a certain degree too, I know that there's probably a little sense of disappointment too about what happened to my life and those kind of things.
And the things that I missed out on.
Ro does a great job raising those kids. I mean, you heard Shay back there, I love them. I think part of it too, though, is it took you a long time to get to where you are now. And, they need to understand that as they were in there, doing their time and paying their dues, so to speak, so were you. And in a lot of ways, I don't want to discount people that have been incarcerated, but in a lot of ways, Ro, your job was 1,000 times more difficult. You were out there living it, having to survive through it. And you did a majority of the heavy lifting all by yourself. I watched it. So, man, what a powerful comment. Thank you, Ro, for bringing that up, and we'll get you going. Well, on this St. Patrick's Day, do we have anything else on your side? I got one more question, or else we can.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All right, the last question that I've got for tonight is, this will be a funny one. Coach Blu, I've been getting into arguments with my mother, who is a big 12-step participant, as her recovery and support meetings have been primarily all 12-step. I'm not a 12-stepper. How do I get my point across? Please help. Oh, goodness. It doesn't matter if she's a 12-stepper, if she's a rational recovery, if she is a, I don't know.
Just some people that
Bible
just don't
thumper.
even do recovery. Don't even think it's.
What I like to do is just kind of highlight their successes, and don't put too much stock in it. Obviously, she's passionate about it. It worked for her. And because it worked for her, she loves you. She wants you to feel that same experience, right?
Yeah, I get it all the time. I told you, I'm in lots and lots of Facebook groups, and I can't tell you if I post a message or I see someone else post a message that's different than the regular 12-step, it's almost open for attack.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just trying to share that there's other viewpoints out there.
Well, and don't get in arguments. One of the interesting things about Addict to Athlete, when we started, I kid you not, we were kind of in the crosshairs of all community support, specifically 12 steps, because that's what dominated our community.
Absolutely.
And we were never meant to be a replacement for, and I'll stand by that forever. We are just an addition to, and that's, I have mad respect for the 12 steps. I may not agree with them all the time,
or parts of it.
but I have mad respect for it because of how long it's been around.
Yeah.
I've seen success come out of it. There's some fundamental things I don't agree with, but at its core, I think it's an amazing program.
Yeah.
So I don't get into those battles with people because it's a big nothing. It's a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
And when my hope here, and I posted this on Facebook the other day about, my goal with the team and with recovery in general is to help create the biggest building out there without tearing anyone else's down.
Yeah.
We are all on the same team. One of our other, community support groups, they lost a real close friend to overdose last week.
Yeah.
And I started seeing community come out and they did a little fundraiser for him and stuff. And this one person affected thousands of people.
Yeah.
And I got thinking, you know what? I love the fact that when we have a loss in any group, we can all kind of come together.
Yeah.
We're all on the same team, which is recovery. And so it doesn't matter if it's 12-step, if it's smart recovery, if it's Dharma recovery, if it's addict athlete, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, we are all pursuing sobriety, doing the best that we can.
Yep.
And that to me, I think is more important. So when your mom's kind of, running the steps down on you, appreciate the fact that she's living those so that she herself can be a mom giving you that feedback. Look at the positive side. Don't get in debates with them. I think that's probably one of the worst things you can do to hurt the relationship.
We've seen a lot of that this year with COVID and vax, not vax, mask, not mask. Who are you going to vote for president? People have their own views, and please share your thoughts, but don't think that you're going to
change their opinion.
Huge in changing fundamental thoughts by other people.
Most people find this stuff kind of on their own.
A lot of times it's share what's in your heart for those who are looking, but you're probably not going to change opinions on those who are set in their ways.
Absolutely. Well said, Marissa. Listeners, viewers, participants, thank you for sending your questions. Keep doing that. You can do so, submitting them through Addict to Athlete on our Facebook page. Email us directly. You can find our website, addicttoathlete.org. We have all of our contact information on there. Yep. Thank you, Ro, for calling in, and Shay, you're a rock star. For everyone out there, remember, this podcast now will be posted on Friday.
Please check out our website. Go to our team store. We have some fabulous items. They look awesome. They're high quality, and become a patron. I'm
going to buy a new hat with my stimulus check.
Are you?
I am. I think I need a different color one.
I'm getting some shirts.
Hey, see? So yeah, jump on addicttoathlete.org. I want to thank Radio Ronan, Spence, Josh, Chandler. Thanks for the tips on the mics, brother. These are great. And of course, Chunga, the Radio Ronan Network. Go check out Radio Ronan. I mean, we got the New Day podcast. We got KP's podcast. We got good stuff. Greg's Guide to New Music is awesome.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that a lot. So if you're a music, junkie, jump on Greg's Guide to New Music. Panda. It's great stuff. So thank you, Radio Ronan. And athletes, until next time, go turn that mess into a very powerful